pop them collars. I stay ready.
You're very excited. Why don't you do the honors and introduce us?
I'm Leroy. That's Michael. We these niggas on this channel. We try. Nerdy by Nature Productions. It's Star Wars. Let's get to this video.
You can
17
wait. You
seconds
couldn't
in.
wait 30 seconds.
I could not.
All right. Hello, the internet world. That's who we are. You want to do any setup? We just get straight into it. Yeah, the glare
I
is not
just, I
helping.
just, I just realized the light.
Yeah, like the glare is not making that any better, sir.
I was like, I was like, damn.
Like
Anyway,
I assume that is a Star Wars property, but I don't know which one it was. I assume it's
so
season
that was
one.
the steelbook for Rogue One,
Oh, okay.
um, which I honestly, for me, all seriousness, to me, Rogue One is the best Star Wars movie since
The original trilogy.
Empire.
Okay.
I will stand on business. Rogue One is the best Star Wars movie since. Now there are moments in other movies, and keep in mind, I'm the dude who has a steelbook of The Last Jedi. I love The Last Jedi, but I think Rogue One.
Man, love is a strong word for that
I
movie.
know. I see how you feel about Rogue One. I'm the exact opposite. I love Rogue One. I mean, Last Jedi. I love Last Jedi. There's things about it that I don't like, but I love what the movie tries to stand for. Anyway, we're not going to relitigate that. Rogue One is my favorite outside of Empire. Is my favorite. The original, A New Hope, Empire, Rogue One. That's my top three.
Hmm.
Um, I think Rogue One did something that all the other Star Wars didn't do. It showed the grittiness of war. To me, Rogue One is the Dirty Dozen of Star Wars,
Sure.
and I was shocked that they made this film. And to have a prequel to this, I was against it. I really was. I'll be the first one 10 toes down. I was like, nope, don't do it. And then it came out, and I was like, a nigga was wrong. I was dead wrong, hands down. I was wrong, and it is
Hashtag
one
a
of
nigga was wrong.
make it
Hmm.
make it viral, y'all.
Yeah.
Make it don't make it too viral. I still got a job. I still got these kids. Uh,
Hmm.
but I will admit that I was blown away by Andor. It has one of the best best one of the best speeches by a Skarsgård. Um, I want to say this episode 7, where he says, "What do I sacrifice?" Amazing. Um, I also believe Andor is a blueprint for how you fight an oppressive regime in the
Hmm.
beginning of an empire, um, that may become handy later on. So I'm all in, and now I cede the floor to you. What do they say? Uh, what's the opposite of reclaiming my time? I yield my time to you, sir.
Okay.
To the gentleman from Blythewood.
Uh huh. Yeah. No, I was very excited for. I'm excited for season two. I really enjoyed season one. Who is it? Is it Ridley Scott?
Yes. No.
Yes.
No. No. No.
No.
No. Um. Oh, Tony Gilroy. Tony
Tony
Gilroy's
Gilroy. See, there we go. All right. Clearly, I don't know people, but whoever it is, I think they did an
Ridley
amazing
Scott.
job with it.
Hold on. I'm glad that you know the name Ridley Scott because Blade Runner and Alien, buddy.
Great. Anyway, whoever it is, I think they did an amazing job. I really enjoyed season one of Andor. It was definitely a slower paced show, and it really built up. And it was interesting. It was deliberately paced, but I never felt like it dragged. And I think that takes a special talent to make that happen. I mean, it's definitely deliberate in measuring how it moves, but it never felt dragging. I'm just like, I could tell something was about to happen. And it kept building and building, and when it finally hit, you're like, oh yeah, this is good. So I'm ready
With no lightsabers.
with lightsabers.
No lightsabers.
Oh yeah, yeah, right. With no lightsabers, yeah.
Mhm.
No, I mean, I think that goes back to a conversation I've had with you before. It's like there is so much to do in the Star Wars universe away from lightsabers.
Agreed.
Let's do more of that.
Agreed. The thing that I love about this is also this showed the people behind the scenes of these grand space operas.
Hmm.
So if you think about this, Andor falls in between the prequels and the original trilogy. It's that 20-year gap that you, how do we get these plans? The Death Star is being formed. How do we get to that point? And I think this is interesting because we get to see how the Empire works, the banality of evil. Um, I think we've seen some great speeches, some great acting, but also some compromises from people who have to wear two masks. This mask of I live in this society, I am acting a certain way, but then the other side of that, I am secretly subverting the authority that is the empire. And I think that is something we have not seen
Hmm.
in a Star Wars show. I think that's something we see in drama that's like prestige drama. We see that in The Americans. We see that in what's another show? Homeland. We see that in those type of shows. The old man uh, pours some out because they got canceled. Those are the type of shows we reserve that type of acting for. And this show showed us that Star Wars can be adult cinema to a certain extent, if that makes sense. So I'm definitely on board for this. Uh, we've been talking for a while. Let's get to this trailer.
We're in a war. You want to fight? Or you want to win? Last night a dream
Yes,
that the world had
that's an angry Iggy, bro.
declined. All our hopes had come to be. The revolution starts now.
I love to go walk away with things closed.
I've been waiting for you, Clint. That's an
Dang,
amazing shot.
that's cool.
That's K2SO.
Oh,
Remember this moment. You're here. You're right here, and you're ready to fight.
that's Leroy's final form. April 22nd. Okay.
I feel that was a slight no, and I can't go ahead like that.
We can we can
I feel that
we
was
can get you a
shady.
wig. That's fine.
I feel like, you know what? Niggas is
I
wearing wigs
just
now. Um,
there was a news station in Charlotte that did a story on people traveling to Turkey for hair implants because it's cheaper than USA.
son, I just learned about that in the last month that they are going to Turkey for hair transplants. So there was a comedian that I
Hmm.
watched, female comedian, male and female, and they were talking about that. They was like talking to people who travel, and they was like, "Yo, if they're from Turkey and they have their head wrap or they got a hat on, they just got a hair transplant." And I was like, "What? Dudes is doing that in 2020?"
Hmm.
And they was like, "Dudes been doing that for years. We just now started noticing." I was like, "Yo, I've been rocking this, and I could have had locks, and nobody told me."
Yeah.
Fuck all of y'all, son. Because I'm telling you right now, I'm I'm dangerous with a bald head. Give me some
Uh huh.
hair, and I'm uncontrollable. I'm
Okay.
unstoppable. I'm invincible.
Yes.
Anyway, what'd you think?
Oh yeah, for anybody that is new, we do go on tangents, but we will get back to the original topic. I like it. I think it's cool. I like the song choice. I like them kind of. Oh yeah, this is what this revolution is going to be. There's a cool part here. There's a part where there's a bunch of dancing, and so I guess we can go back to it since we're talking about it. But
Mhm.
where they're like dancing and
Yeah,
singing and stuff, and then somebody pulls
that's
out a
for Michael.
gun.
That's for Michael. That's for me.
But it's like, oh yeah, this is interesting.
That scene, that right there,
That's cool.
that scene, right, that right there, son.
Yeah,
Ooh, Krennic is back.
yeah, they're dancing
That's
there,
the scene.
and I think somebody pulls a gun in that same scene, unless it's different.
See, I don't know if
I
it
think
is.
it'll pop up here in a second if it's the same scene or not. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Maybe that's a different thing where she pulls that gun. But
I
yeah,
wasn't
but
sure.
whatever. I am excited for this, and I just want to see where everybody is 2 years on. What's the guy's name? Saul Guerrero. Saul Guerrero. Yeah.
Yep, saw it.
Um. Leroy 3.0, whatever it is. But I mean,
It- he's not
yeah,
wrong.
this is interesting to me, just to see
He's not wrong.
what the final throw is, because we said this is like essentially a direct prequel to Rogue One. So do we think that the last scene of this season is like the first scene of Rogue One, or who knows?
I'm not sure. I think this is my hypothesis. I think Mon Mothma realizes I can no longer.
Be the two
I
people,
gotta put up. Yeah, I gotta put
right?
up or shut up. I do believe uh Skarsgård dies in this
Okay.
season. I think that's I think Stellan Skarsgård, who plays Luthen, I think he dies. I think that is a big. I think that's going to be a big plot point in this. I think because if you remember Mon Mothma, I keep saying Mon Mothma. She is married. She has a daughter. She's trying to figure navigate, and she's got money problems. And there's a crime lord who her daughter. This whole arranged marriage thing is
Hmm.
going on. I think she's going to have to make a choice where it's like, who am I, and what am and these people are sacrificing for the rebellion. What am I doing? So we have that situation. I like that we see Denise Go back, who plays Deidre Merrow, and Cyril Karn, Kyle Solar. If you remember in the first trailer of Andor, oh boy's like, there are pockets for minting. And he's talking to this Imperial officer. Those two people to me are the kind of the linchpin. They want to move up in this upper echelon of the empire. They want to prove themselves
Hmm.
worthy. Meanwhile, on the other side, we have Diego Luna, we have Luth, Stellan Skarsgård, uh, Genevieve O'Reilly, Mon Mothma, Luthen, and Cassian, basically trying to upend the social order of that is the
Hmm.
empire. We see right here bombings. Krennic is back, so we see the Death Star. All of this leads to the Death Star being built. That one where the rebels are like, the Empire has a weapon, something we've never seen before, something drastic. We know Cassian was in the prison building parts of the Death
Hmm.
Star. So all of this is building towards the idea that the idea of the Death Star, and they don't know what this is. They just know it's a weapon, and this build up where I think we're going to see people like, you know what, the mask
Yeah, like
off,
yeah, we're
future
no longer
mask
there's
off.
no longer a pretense. It's we're here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm. And so we saw K2SO over there. We saw Saw Gerrera. What I would like to see is what happens between Luthen and Saw. Because remember, Luthen told him I was. He told him the horse trading he had to do, and Saw was like, "All right, cool." I would like to know, how does the Resistance deal with Saul, how Luthen deals with Saul, and how Cassian comes to be this cold, jaded
Hmm.
assassin that we meet in Rogue One versus this reluctant ideal, I don't want to say idealist, but criminal that we see in Andor,
Sure. Yeah.
the first season.
I mean, I think it's just all a matter of what are those final straws that are broken, and people are just like, yeah, we're done.
For you, what is it about this show that makes you like it more so? Because we've talked about this. Neither one of us has watched Skeleton Crew. We have various opinions. Like and subscribe. Use the hashtag Nerdy by Nature, Dirty South, Nerdy South. Um, we have different wild opinions about the Acolyte,
Hmm.
and but you, we both, we both have come together on Andor in agreement that this is some of the best Star Wars.
I don't know. I think everything about it. I think it goes back to when you're talking about Tony Guillory and just the way that he brought this together and the way it's paced. It's definitely an art form, right? I mean, because it is so easy to have a show that is a slow paced show, and you're like, man, it kind of goes back to the same. Not exactly. It's not apples to apples, but it's similar. Where if you're watching a TV show and you're like, oh, give it 4 or 5 episodes and then you really get into it, or if you're playing a video game, give it 10 hours and then you finally get into it. I mean, this hits for me from the beginning, even though it is a slow paced show. And I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's the way it's shot. It's the way people are just really buying into it. I don't know. I can't describe what that is, but it works for me.
Let me ask you
Hmm.
this, because this is something we've kind of talked about. Do you think because Tony Gilroy, who is the writer behind, one of the voices behind Rogue One and one of the big voices, and I want to say showrunner behind this, because there are different directors for each episode, but he's the creator of this particular
Hmm.
project. Do you think that because he's not a Star Wars fan,
Maybe.
he's somebody, because this is a guy, I know Tony Gilroy from, and a lot of people don't. I, he's a producer and a lot of stuff, writer. I know him from Michael Clayton,
Oh, I enjoyed
and
that.
that is one of my favorite movies, because a lot of people remember that line that um, I see his face in my brain. Beautiful Man
Clooney.
uh, was Batman. Yeah, thank you,
Hmm.
George Clooney. George Clooney, when he's talking to Tilda Swinton, he's like, "I'm the guy you pay off. I'm not the guy you try to kill."
Hmm.
And the fact that he's a fixer, and he switches and he tries to be this, he realizes because his mentor is killed, he realizes something's wrong and he tries to fight the system. There's a lot of similarities to from Michael Clayton to this. And does that translate for you? Something you're going to notice about this if you're new to the channel, and if you're not new to the channel, I work out how I'm thinking by talking it through. And I'm asking Michael this question: do you think because he is not a Star Wars fan, he's a writer, and the fact that he's not a Star Wars fan, he's brought a lot of these elements that he's used in other movies to Star Wars to get us to care about characters we necessarily would, because they don't have lightsabers?
I don't know because I think he could probably do the same thing with lightsabers. I think he could probably tell a similar story with people who are force sensitive and use lightsabers. But I think the big thing, as we're talking about it now, is because he is not a Star Wars fan, he doesn't worry about every single little thing about Star Wars. He's more worried about crafting a good story, and then he has found a way to put Star Wars characters in those stories, as opposed to somebody else who may
Mm-hmm.
really love Star Wars, like, oh, I need to put every single reference in here. And I was like, well, maybe it's too much to deal with. I think
Mm-hmm.
like maybe these are like you said, it's kind of a guy fed up and similar to Michael Clayton in that it's these are not necessarily universal stories, but stories you've seen before and heard. so they can be
Hmm.
told in any type of genre. Who knows? Tony Gilroy could probably do something similar to Game of Thrones if he wasn't a fan. Who knows? But I think it's just him being able to tell these incredible stories, and then he finds a way to put the genre on top of it.
Put a pin in that, guys. Mark that at 2010. Michael just gave us a good topic. Later on, one day, press play. Can Tony Gilroy do Game of Thrones because he don't give a shit about that, and he's only in this to tell good
I
stories?
don't know.
I like
They
that
got
idea. Because here's the thing, I like that. I wouldn't waste Tony Gilroy in Game of Thrones. There's enough people doing that shit. Give Tony Gilroy some a property. Tony Gilroy does GI Joe, an adult GI Joe. No, put Tony Gilroy on Mission Impossible or James Bond.
okay.
Boom, nigga, we just solved the world's crisis. Oh,
Yeah,
Kobe.
Kobe. Yep, that was it.
No, no, I'm feeling on that because here's a guy who's a writer, and we're using Tony Gilroy as a stand-in for the writing of this show because that's the name that we associate with the head writer of this show. He's the writer behind Rogue One. I know there was a was it Greg Witta,
Gary Whitta.
another person. Gary Witta, thank you. I follow him on Threads. He's a very
He's
interesting person.
hilarious. He
I
has a dry sense of humor.
he
He's a former games
I really
journalist, and
like
yeah,
him.
he's because he also did Book of Eli. Yeah,
Yes, which fuck you, Chris.
you know why.
Yeah, no, no. For those of you who don't know Chris Brathwaite spoiled that shit before I watched it, and others. Chris Brathwaite is a spoiler. Y'all get on me about spoiling stuff, and I do it accidentally. Chris goes out of his way to fuck up my movie going experience. We used to have a battle because he would go watch shit and be like, "Oh, you ain't seen it? This happens." Doc Holliday shows up to fight in Tombstone, and I was like, "I didn't know that, man. I didn't know that." Anyway,
Fantastic.
I'm really, I'm, I'm really interested to see how this
Hmm.
hits, and this is going to be a not hot topic, hot take. I'm interested to see how this TV series hits given the new political climate that we're in, given the war in
Which one?
the
Okay, I was like, which
Ukraine
word are you talking
with
about?
hold on, the war with Ukraine, the United Nations resolution, given the new political climate we have here in America. Those of you who are American, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Those of you who are new to this channel and you have not watched, um, we have a very interesting administration. And I'm going to go on record as saying Rogue One probably is the movie you're going to need to watch with Andor season one to get through. Um, I'm interested to see how this plays out going forward and how it hits. Because here's the thing, I think certain things pop based on what's going on in everybody's
Sure.
life. So I think so. Perfect example: Oppenheimer and Barbie popped because of the way the world worked at that time. If that makes sense, I think there's certain times art affects people differently based on what's going on in the world, and I think this is one of those shows I'm interested to see how we receive it based on the world going on around us because we both have said the boys has found a way to tap into what's going on and be very relevant to what's to the current situation we're
Hmm.
experiencing. And we have both said this is too real.
I have not watched
So
the
I'm
most
wondering
recent
if we're
season of The Boys yet. Hmm.
really the last
Hmm.
season that came out. Wow, that's interesting. Have we talked about that? I feel like we have
I
not
guess
talked
not.
about that. I'm totally caught off guard. I thought you had watched it. I thought we did a review of it, honestly.
You wasn't with me.
And boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, cats and dogs, ants and grasshoppers, that's how we're going to end this because I, Michael just blew my mind. Anyway,
Hmm.
Michael, throw that super up. Boom. Like, comment, and subscribe. Let us know what you think about the trailer. Let us know what you think about the Star Wars universe. And what is your favorite Star Wars movie of the last 20 years? For me, boom.
So the last 20 years, so not the original trilogy. You then
Of the last 20 years?
you said of the last 20 years, so you're not talking about the original trilogy, right? You're talking about like
No.
episode
Yeah, the
one
last 20
onward
years.
and all that stuff. Okay.
No, no, no. I'm talking. Yeah, I'm talking about. Well, no, episode one was in the last 20 years.
Oh, what was that? 99 or something? Yeah, I guess
Yeah,
so.
that's like early. Yeah, hey, bruh, this is 2025,
Yeah.
man. I'm talking about Solo, Force Awakens, Last Jedi, and whatever that Rise of Skywalker. I could not remember what that was. And yeah.
Cool.
Uh, so for Michael, I'm Leroy. We out.
Peace.
May the Force be with you.